Amid rising awareness among parents about the dangers of concussions and new recommendations from the American Academy of Pediatrics, a safer twist on a beloved classic sport is gaining popularity. Here to discuss the rise of flag football youth leagues is WSJ reporter Rachel Bachman. Rachel, great to see you. Thanks for being here.
Great to be here.
So what are the current recommendations of the American Academy of Pediatrics when it comes to youth football?
Well, one of the things they recommend is to increase the accessibility and availability of non-tackling leagues, and that's where flag football comes in.
So this is really something that doctors and the medical community is focusing on.
Definitely. I mean, they also want people to teach proper tackling technique in tackling leagues, but for parents who don't want any part of, the intense contact of tackling, this is a good alternative.
And it's certainly, flag football is certainly still dwarfed by tackle football, correct?
It is. Tackle football is hugely popular, particularly in high schools still. It's the #1 participation sport for boys, so it remains some popularity, definitely.
But yet we've seen in the past, 5 or 3 years, a pretty big increase in these flag football leagues?
Yes, of course, flag football has been around for decades, but what we're seeing is the rise in these organized, highly sort of slick leagues.
Yes.
One licensed by the NFL, and parents are flocking to these. We've seen a big increase.
That's great. If you've got the NFL's stamp of approval, that gives it that sort of pedigree that a lot of parents are looking for when it comes to.
And they get to wear team jerseys, which a lot of the kids like.
There you go. Now, what about the numbers of girls playing football? Does this increase in the flag football leagues?
It has, actually. In fact, the NFL league is co-ed, and they say about 20% of the participants are girls. Flag football in high schools is actually more popular among girls than boys, although the boys' teams are growing faster, so we're seeing increases across the board there.
So where are these flag football leagues most popular?
They're really all
over the country?
Yeah, there's another company called I9 Sports that operates in 27 states, and flag football is its most popular sport for kids.
And these are travel leagues, so they travel around the area and play against each other?
Some of them do, but a lot of them are very localized. One of the things parents like is that a lot of these leagues only operate 1 day a week. You only have to take your kid to 1 game a week, so it's pretty low maintenance.
And I guess if the NFL is behind one of them, that means that you can then move your child to a tackle league when they're, 12, 13, 14? Is that the idea?
That's what a lot of parents are doing. They're not necessarily saying no to tackle entirely. They're just delaying their kids' entry into it.
It's very interesting because last week I interviewed Dr. Bennett Omalu, who was the doctor credited with making the NFL aware of the long-term repercussions of concussions. And he says that he will not allow his son to play any contact sport until he's 12, because the research that he's done shows that there's a lot of long-term damage that can happen to a child's brain before the age of 12.
Yes, in fact, there was a study that showed that in former NFL players, there was greater cognitive impairment among people who started playing tackle before they were 12 compared with after 12.
That seems to be the age. I can totally understand why you would want to do a flag football league. And how does it differ exactly? How does the sport differ?
Well, the main difference is, of course, there's no tackling. So instead of actually physically tackling someone, a kid will pull a flag or a piece of fabric from another kid's belt. And so it's just less emphasis on some of the full contact that you see in tackle, and more on running and strategy and so on.
Because research into football has shown that it is the act of tackling that causes the most concussions, correct?
Yes, that's what it's shown. Mm-hmm.
So what do we know now about concussions that we didn't know, or the scientific community didn't know even 10 years ago?
Well, certainly there is the impact of second impact syndrome, which is, if someone already has a concussion and gets another one, that can be tremendously damaging. And also, we don't know necessarily the long-term effects of, for instance, concussions when you're young. We're starting to find out some of those things, but there's still a lot we don't know.
As a parent myself, I tell you, if my child were interested in football, he's into hockey, but if you were into football, we would be definitely doing the flag football leagues. Thank you so much, Rachel.